Welcome to Sober.Coffee, a weekly coffee chat sharing experience, strength, and hope for anyone on the sober road to recovery. You can download Sober.Coffee weekly on all podcast platforms and check us out on Instagram at Sober.Coffee Podcast and on Twitter at Sober.Coffee Pod. To learn more about us and to help support these sessions, visit online at Sober.Coffee. Here are your hosts, two guys on their own path to recovery, Mike and Glenn. Let's join them at the coffee shop.
Glenn, setting the timer. Do you remember back when we used to say 18 minutes, and we had a whole scientific reason for the 18 minutes? Remember that?
No, well, the scientific reason is the average length of time it takes for a person to drink a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
And then the average length of time for a commute was like 22 minutes.
So we were right in the ballpark.
Yeah, so we're like, well, hey, man, if somebody driving to work, drinking a cup of coffee.
But now our episodes run 20-plus
now
minutes.
We have no idea.
No, it's for the long commuters.
It's hilarious. You set that timer every single time. Every single time it goes off, every single time we go longer, and yet you set it every single time.
I think there was one episode we went
we don't even pay attention to that.
16.74 minutes. Mikey does.
Mikey does what? You pay attention to it?
I must, yeah.
Well, then why don't you stop us at 18? Why don't you land the plane? Speaking of land the plane,
yes.
I am so aware, just the presentations. I've gone through, I was in a speech minor in college and just a lot of presentation training through my career. So I'm very aware of when in a presentation somebody lands the plane.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I call it. And then somebody will jump in and they'll take the plane back up and then they'll crash it.
Yeah.
I can't use that example. That's too real. But work. Like I'll do a presentation at work, and that plane, that 777 comes down so smooth,
right?
It just lands, and everybody claps, a perfect landing, and then somebody from the team will jump in and they'll throw in. And I just looked this week, and I just cringed, man. I'm like, why did you take the plane back up?
Right.
And then he crashed it because they don't,
I love that.
They just I don't think it was ego. I just think that they had a point that they wanted to drive home. And I'm like, man, the plane just perfectly landed. Just walking down the path and now,
And they were talking about the ascension.
Yeah, whatever.
Yes,
whatever,
right.
whatever.
Brother. Hey, what's on topic today?
Today's one of my exciting
I know
episodes.
you like these.
I love these. So we get a lot of touch points out there in social media. We get emails, touch points. We get people who comment on our stuff. Not that we have great stuff, but we do what we can, putting it out there, and and so we get comments. So and some of them are what probably each one could be a show, right? But we can't put 20 shows out a week. So what we thought we'd do is we
some would say we can't even put one good show out a week. Some would say that.
I love those. They're like, hey man, you guys should find the unplug button. Okay. Don't forget, not everybody likes chocolate ice cream.
I remember that.
But some people love it. So what we've tried to do is try to take them and we compile them over time and kind of themes, and we do rapid fire espresso shots.
All right.
So we have a number of them listed up. Well, I don't know if we'll get through them all, but we might make some up. So,
all right, get up. So you throw a question out and we just give a quick response. And again, our disclaimer at the beginning and end of every show, or I don't know which one it is, at beginning or end, we are not professionals. We are not even.
Brian laughing.
We
Thanks,
are not.
Brian.
Oh, Brian's the only professional in the
what
group.
Brian's saying? Speak for yourself.
That's right. Yeah.
He goes, I'm a pro.
Yeah.
No,
so
that's great.
Audio Hive.
All right. Plug. Virtual podcast.
Virtual
Audio
podcast.
Hive, Chicagoland.com. Okay, first one, right? Dude, I see this so much. I think we've done a show on it or 5 shows on it. But there are people, and the reason why I relate to this.
Glenn, we're at 18 minutes. I'm just kidding.
The reason why I really resonate with this is that this was me.
Mm-hmm.
I spent 15 years trying to answer this question.
Fire away. Go ahead.
What is the key to moderation?
The key to moderation.
To only having one drink, or only drinking one night a week, having 3 beers one night a week. What's the key to moderation? Come on, man. People are asking.
Okay, and I'm going to say
This is $1 billion product if you can build it.
I know, right? And so all I can say, my knee-jerk reaction to that question is
Laugh.
try it. Tell me how it works for you.
Well, that's why they're asking, because it's obviously not working well.
I know. Throw it back at them.
If it was working well,
yep.
If it was working great, they wouldn't. If they had the answer, they wouldn't be asking the question.
There is no key to moderation. Look,
That's
my wife.
that's not very hopeful.
My wife is a moderator. She's a normal drinker. She is a moderator. She will get a cocktail and nurse that thing for 4 hours, leave half of it on the table, and go home and not touch another cocktail for 8 months. Okay?
How do you do that? That's like the ninth wonder of the world.
Listen, that's what normal people do.
Oh my gosh,
it's the normal.
I mean, I haven't had a drink in over 8 years. When I see somebody leave half a cocktail, I almost want to drink it for them. I feel so bad for that cocktail. I'm like, man, what a waste.
Even now?
Oh yeah, totally now.
Yeah.
There's not a time that I don't look at a half cocktail. I'm like, what a waste.
Like, you know what my wife likes to say to me?
Like I should help him out.
I'm really proud of you, but really you're just acting like a normal human being. So,
same thing my sponsor says.
I think what she's trying to tell me is don't get so full of myself that I'm not drinking.
Patting yourself on the back.
That's right. This is what normal people do. Normal people don't drink in excess. Normal people pay their bills. Normal people get the stickers on their car. Normal people...
Hey, was that a jab at me?
No,
because I was literally just thinking that. I remember calling my sponsor. I'm like, dude, man, I registered my car on time for the first time in 10 years.
Looking for a little attaboy?
Absolutely. You know what he said?
What did he say?
So what?
So
he goes,
what?
that's what you're supposed to do.
Right.
I'm like, oh man, I should have found a different sponsor.
Okay, so let me let me ask you, what is the key to moderation?
There is not one.
There is one.
Not
for an alcoholic.
That's right. Hey, I forgot one rapid fire.
Yes.
All right. Okay, so with moderation, what I know from me and from you and from working with many, many, many other alcoholics, there is an invisible line. Somewhere out there's an invisible line. When you cross that invisible line, it is impossible to go back to drinking in moderation.
Right.
I have thousands of examples. There is one guy who was a raging alcoholic, and he says that he has one glass of wine on a Friday night. Mm-hmm. That is one, a miracle, or two, a lie.
Mm-hmm.
His esophagus broke down because he was drinking so much vodka.
And now he's drinking one glass of wine a week.
10, 12, 15 handles a week.
Right.
And now he drinks one glass. I just don't believe it.
Well,
or I'm jealous.
Oh, and I believe that's not the end of the story. We'll find out the end of the story someday. So,
correct,
okay, number
correct.
2.
Right, but so no, there's no moderation.
There is no moderation.
Once you cross that line, and it's, hey, no gummies, no edibles, right? It's no, that's just, sobriety is sobriety. It's no mind-altering substances.
Yeah, and that's our opinion. We are Sober.Coffee, otherwise known as Abstinence.Coffee. There is no other way. Go ahead.
Right.
Number 2.
For us.
Yes.
All right, second one. How many AA meetings should I go to a week?
My answer is, how many does it take?
Well, they're asking that. How many does it take?
And I'm saying, whatever it takes. Here's the thing. For me, anyway, it took a lot of meetings. It doesn't matter what the number is. What it took me is what it took me. So, in the beginning, many meetings were required. In the beginning, many meetings were required. I took notes. I studied. I listened. I practiced what I learned. And I had to keep doing that until I felt that I was safe enough to do the next step, the next thing, which for me was I put a little more effort into writing and a little more into podcasting. So that carved out some time for my week. Like this morning, I'd be going to a meeting.
Right.
But I'm not at a meeting because I'm in a meeting.
But we're still in the sober pool.
We're still in the sober pool.
Okay, so the two mantras. One is they always say 90 meetings in 90 days. Right?
Right.
In your first 90 days, 90 meetings in your first 90 days, that's kind of a good rule of thumb. I did 122 meetings in 90 days, and it didn't do shit.
Mm-hmm.
I was drinking. right? I just didn't, right? So, but in general, they say 90 meetings in 90 days. Second thing I want to say is, good phrase, and AA's got a lot of phrases, but meeting makers make it. So going to meetings. Now, through COVID, I was going to 7 to 10 meetings a week, all virtual. And then, typically, now I'm down to 1 or 2. Excuse me.
But you're doing a lot of other stuff.
Oh, totally.
You're
Like
working
I'm
with
here
guys,
for,
you're at the
I'm here for
podcast.
3 hours. I'm part of a sober living, project there. I'm working. I got so much, like a sober app. I got so much stuff going on. It's all in sobriety, right? So I'm in and around sobriety, but being on a podcast is different than being in a meeting.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
So I still need meetings. I still go to meetings. I was at a meeting this week. On Thursday or one night, I forget. All just kind of blends. But I try to go to 2 meetings a week. But here's what I would say about, I have those 25 things a day, a week, that I do, a month that I do to stay sober. People ask me why I have to keep doing all that stuff. And my answer is, and going to meetings is one of them. And my answer is, I keep doing them all because I know they all work.
Right, exactly.
I don't know if 17 work.
Right.
So what I know is going to meetings works. And what I also know, people that relapse, right? People that go back out, they do their research sabbatical, as Dr. John says. One of the keys, every time they come back, and they come back with the shame and guilt and remorse and all that, self-loathing, all that stuff. It's heavy. They come back with it. It's like, hey, man, what happened?
Stop going to meetings.
That's the number one thing. Stop going to meetings. So you just keep going until.
Right.
That's
my point, right?
Meetings are part of my life, and they will be for the rest of my life.
And it's not a jail sentence, for Pete's sake. It's a social event.
Right, but when you first come in, when you're sober curious and you first come in, it's kind of, it takes a while to get to that point.
Yeah, okay.
It does.
Oh, okay.
Because when I first came in, I'm like, this is a punishment.
Yeah, no, that's a good point.
I don't want to be with these people. These people aren't like me.
Yeah, I must do
They're not
it
as good
was
as
my
I am.
mantra.
I'm great.
I don't know
These
why
people
I'm doing it. I don't want to do it, but that's what they're telling me to do, so I'll do it.
Right. I have nice shoes. They don't. All kinds of head trash, right?
Right.
Okay.
Number 3.
All right, number 3. What's your favorite AA quote?
My favorite AA quote.
1.
Okay, do one of them.
1. Not you. Don't do this 1, 2, 3 thing.
It's got to be 1, 2, 3.
No, 1.
You're only as sick as your secrets.
That's your number 1. Mm-hmm. Okay.
You put a gun to my head. I'd
No,
really like to have a top 3.
No. Okay. What's 2 and 3?
Just keep it one day at a time.
Okay.
That just has transformed my way of thinking because I spent so much time in the past and the
All
future.
right, day at a time. All right, what's your third one?
I would say that learn to suffer better.
Okay. Suffer better. Okay.
Suffer better. How about you?
So
I'll give you 3.
So you have a newcomer coming in the room,
Right.
and he comes up to you and he's hurt. Right. He's hurt. You can tell he's hurt, hungover. He's hurt. He said, "Hey man, this is my first meeting." He goes, "Can you give me one piece of advice? Which one of those 3 would you give him?"
Keep coming back.
That's number 4. Okay, keep coming back.
Yeah.
No, so I love that one, right?
Yeah.
The one thing, okay, so if I could use one, if that newcomer who was hurt, hungover, came up to me and said, "Hey, give me one thing," I would say, I think my number 1 favorite is there is a solution. Period. Because what I would want to say, man, you got so much pain that you are just drowning in.
I love that.
You're just drowning. There is a solution, man. There is hope, right? There is something. I just got chills because I believe it so much. There is something here. There is a solution. And I would want them to leave with that hope that, hey, man, I can find a way out of this shit pile that I'm sitting in, or this alcoholic hell.
And I'd be standing next to you saying, keep coming back and learn more about the solution.
So as soon as I say there is a solution, you would jump in the background. Keep coming back.
Exactly. I'd be
That's
like
awesome.
like a parrot on your
Keep
shoulder.
coming back. That's awesome.
All right, number 4.
Okay. Now this is serious. This is probably up there with what's the key to moderation? How can I drink in moderation? This is probably I can't score them, but they're either 1 or 2 or 2 and 1.
Okay.
They're right up there with each other.
Okay.
AA doesn't work.
You're not working it.
Okay. I mean, it's amazing the level of people and yeah.
And I wouldn't have the coolions to say that to him. I would say, are you working it? Are you really working it? Are you doing what they say you should be doing?
Well, why wait, I'm going to challenge you on that. Why aren't you being honest with them?
Well, hold on a second. Let me ask you a question. Are they drinking or are they just miserable? Because some people say AA doesn't
I don't go
work.
to that level.
Okay.
We don't have.
So
that
you're saying
information.
they're not staying abstinent. They're still drinking. It doesn't work for them. They're still drinking.
Or they're miserable.
Okay, well, those are 2 totally different things, I
Right.
think.
So I'm just saying, people on social media come back and they say, AA doesn't work.
Okay.
I don't know what the situation is.
Okay, well
So
then,
I'm not as polite as you are.
right? You would just say, well, it worked for me, right?
Well, I would say this. I would say, in my life, I have 100% factual proof that AA works in a brilliant way. Mm-hmm. They can't argue with that.
No, they can't.
And they try, but I just go back. I'm like, please reread my prior statement. I literally say that.
Right.
And they don't like that answer because AA doesn't work for them because, and this takes me back to Dr. John, because we asked Dr. John, and he's, PhD in alcoholic treatment, and I mean, he's on the path himself, and, he's probably the most educated. Mm-hmm. He's got a PhD in this shit, plus he's got a PhD in living it through life, right? So, I mean, that's 2 PhDs. Mm-hmm. But he lives it too. And we asked him on that podcast, remember?
Right.
And
why do people fail?
Yeah, step 1, you're fucked, right? We asked him on that podcast. He goes, I said, hey, what do you say? He goes, they can't get their head out of their ass. They can't get out of their own ego, and surrender to the program. They know better. Mm-hmm. And they're going to fly that plane right in the side of the mountain. Mm-hmm. and that is what I share with people. I'm like, you cannot. Who are you to debate the facts in my life? You know nothing about me, right? So shut up. Okay. Right. Secondly is every time I see somebody say AA doesn't work, it's they have their own, it's their ego that they bring to the table that they cannot get around. And the reason why I can say that
is because you lived it.
It was me, man. It was me. I came in. I mean, my ego, I knew better. I knew this. I changed the words in the book. They should say this. I did all that stuff. And the key, and years. So it's not like, I dabbled for a month and then, for years of alcoholic pain. What hospital am I going to next, right? For years, I just ruined my entire life. And the only day that I started to see results is when I said, I will do whatever you tell me to do. And I didn't care what that book said. Mm-hmm. I was doing it because I just needed an option. And I had hope that AA was the option because I'd seen it work in enough other people. And I'm like, you know what? It's a point of surrender. But that point of surrender, my ego crashed to the ground. And I had my butt wide open, hemorrhoids hanging out, stains in my underwear. And I said, look, I'm at my bottom. I will do whatever you tell me to do.
So it's kind of, that's
kind of gross. Sorry.
No, that was really descriptive.
That's reading a blueberry muffin.
Folks, we'll put pictures up on the website.
See the resource room for that.
That's right. That's right. No, you know what it reminds me of? It almost reminds me, you go to boot camp, right? And you go into boot camp, you have to get through boot camp because you want to be in the Army, Navy, Marines, whatever. And the way they strip you down of your ego, the only way that you get to be in the Navy, Army, Marines, etc., is if you submit to their authority, right? it's almost like that's what you have to go through. You leave your ego at the door. You leave your desire at the door. You are now property of the U.S. government or whatever government you're listening to us from.
I don't think you can make it through boot camp with an ego.
Right.
I just don't. I think it is such a surrender. You have to surrender to those guys. You got to say, how many? Do push-ups. How many? Go do this. Okay, yes, sir.
Right.
I mean, that is how my mentality was when I surrendered.
Right.
And I can remember clear to this day. I'm like, I am giving my entire life to you, to my counselor, Matt. I just saw that last week. Great to see him again, doing such great things with people in the sober path. And and I remember this. So I went and got my room set up. And they're like, okay, we're tonight's movie night. We're all going to sit together and watch a movie.
You're like, okay, cool.
I'm like, yes, sir.
Cool.
And I literally thought to myself, boy, this surrender stuff's kind of easy.
Sure. We'll see a movie, popcorn.
See a movie, laughter. I'm like, hey.
It's a great weight loss program.
I'll do it. And the next day, you know what they said?
What?
We're going for a group walk. There were 8 of us. We're going for a group walk.
And
like
a stretch.
I'm like,
okay. I can do that.
Now we're pushing it, but
I can do it.
But I surrendered. Okay,
Right.
let me get off my butt, and I went for this walk. I had blisters on my my flip flops, But I'm like, okay, hey, at least I'm not drinking, right? I'm like, I can do this. And then I remember a couple weeks later, my counselor Matt said, all right, let's sit down our session today. We're going to focus on the fact that you're never going to see your daughters again. I'm like, holy shit! Where'd that come from?
Yeah, right?
Like you're abusing me right now.
I thought today was movie night.
And he said to me, he goes, hey, I thought you surrendered. That was his line. I'm like,
oh man.
I'm like, okay, let's start talking about it. And I opened up, man, and I let the pain come in. And I'm like, okay, let's let the reality come in, because I had burned them so bad. And I'm like, okay, that's surrender.
Yeah. And
still to this day, I surrender. I just called my sponsor last night about some stuff, and I'm like, dude, what do you think? And I know what the answer is. I've done this so much, I know what the answer is. But there's almost comfort in surrendering. Surrendering is a superpower.
Right.
Whole lives, right? Growing up, my dad, if I ever asked for help, figure it out.
Do it yourself.
I don't know if he wanted me to really learn things or if he just didn't want to talk to me. But like, you figure it out. And in business, you know what? Don't ask for help. Go figure it out. Go get the manual. Go figure it out. Right? So asking for help was a weakness. But now surrendering and asking for help in sobriety, that is a superpower.
Dude, these are espresso shots. I think we just drank a gallon of espresso. All right, number last.
Okay, number last.
Pick a good one.
What are 3 secrets to being successful in meetings?
3 secrets to being successful in meetings.
Yep.
I think it's... Okay, 3 things. I think it's... Hold on, you go.
Okay, so...
I've got 3 S's. My brain wants to do S's.
All right, so one... Okay. So one is don't judge people.
Right.
I think you walk in the meeting for the first time, 10th time, 20th time, you sit there and judge, right? You're like, well, I shouldn't have to be here. I'm not like these people. I'm classy. I'm sophisticated. I still have money. I have nice shoes. I'm handsome. I have clean clothes. I don't smoke. I'm not as bad as they are. Wow, that story was really bad. I never did that, right? So don't judge. Look for the similarities.
Yeah, right.
Not the differences.
That's right.
So when I read that textbook called The Big Book, the Big Blue Book of AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, 12 Steps, I see so many similarities. Nowadays, I rarely see differences. I don't see the fact that she might be a black woman telling a story.
Doesn't matter.
I don't even see that anymore.
Right.
What I hear is the
pain.
The pain. I was just going to say that.
Right.
The pain, the situation, the insanity, the stuck.
You can relate to that.
Right. So that would be my first one.
Yeah, I would say share. And here's the thing. The reason I bring that up is because I didn't want my lips to open because I was a sponge. I wanted to hear. But the point is, you need to share because I needed to share because people needed to hear where my pain was so they could help me, right? Because now I go into meetings and I listen to others, and especially newcomers, and when they open up their lips and they share, which is what they should be doing, then I know how I can serve them with my share, how I can relate. I can bring it back to when I was in that place. Look, I'm hurting because my wife said, we're done, and she's not forgiving me yet for everything I've done. I can relate to that, and I could share that time too heals that, and so sharing, I think, is a big thing, a really big thing.
So this may turn into a non-espresso rapid shot, but
Okay.
So I wrapped. So one thing I wrote down is open up, right?
Right.
So I was
Same
working
thing.
with a guy, and he calls me up, and he's like, "Hey, man," and it was Zoom. It was during COVID, during Zoom, and he's like, "Hey, man, these meetings are bullshit. Like, I don't like them. I don't connect with anybody." He goes, "I just don't see the purpose of them. I'm not getting the value out of them." It's all what he thinks. He thinks, and that was his problem. It's all his plan, right? So I said, all right, dude. I said, let me paint you a picture of what you do. I said, the meeting starts at 7 a.m. You show up at 7:03. You don't turn your camera on. You don't turn your microphone on. Your screenshot doesn't say your name. It says, Galaxy, whatever, whatever, right? I said, you don't volunteer to read anything. You don't ever share anything. And you log off at 7:55. I'm like, I clearly understand why your behavior isn't getting you any results. I said, so let's focus on changing your behavior, your actions. I said, show up at 6:50, put your camera on, put your name in there, right? Because it's pretty ignorant just to have Galaxy, I mean, there's no way you're going to have connection with a Galaxy. I said, put your name in there, turn your camera on, volunteer to read something, and share. And then don't log off till 7:10, and wish everybody at 7:05, wish everybody a great day. He did that for a week. He goes, man, that was amazing. He says, people actually talk to me. I'm like, well, I mean, just the insanity of not being able to understand that coming in, right? Nobody's going to talk to you when you're Galaxy. Nobody's going to talk to you when your mic's off. Nobody's going to talk to you, right in the middle of a meeting when you show up 5 minutes late and leave 5 minutes early. Nobody's going to talk to you when you don't, have your camera on. Nobody's going to talk to you when you don't share.
Right.
I mean, but it's just crazy. And I think back to early sobriety, how messed up my head was. I didn't realize any of that stuff either.
Well, and I wish what people would come to realize, I wish what I would have come to realize early was that those old timers that were in that room, and an old timer could have been somebody with, for me would have been with somebody with 3 days with sobriety, 30 days, whatever. But the fact of the matter is they're there to help. It's almost like a job pool, like the old, by the construction sites, you'd have a job pool. These are people just ready to help. And that's what it is. You walk into a room, they're there to help, to serve, take advantage of it,
Yeah, so clearly participation.
Yes.
Now, when you talk about sharing, right, I like to do a subset of that because for years we had we had a guy in the room, I call him Tap Tap Don, right? Because he sits there, love him. I mean, he knows the big book inside and out, so committed to his own sobriety and helping others in sobriety. And the whole meeting, I wouldn't be listening. I would be trying to come up with some dazzling line of bullshit that would get to impress people in the room where they're like, oh my God. So Glenn wasn't living sober. He wasn't sober sometimes. And Glenn was in inner pain, but I wanted people to see the roses, right?
Sure. Right.
So I'd sit there and try to think up what great thing I could say. And this guy, every time he hears something good, he would like double tap his knee. So I call him Tap Tap, right? So my goal was to bring out some level of like
Profoundness.
sober profoundness bullshit that would get Tap Tap Don to tap his knee, right? That's fact. So I was at a AA picnic with him a couple years ago, and I shared that story, and he goes, Glenn, He goes, I was well aware of that. He said, but don't forget, he goes, when I tap, he goes, yeah, I tap because, I hear something profound. And he said, but, he goes, I also tap when I hear bullshit. And that messed me up for a week. I'm like, wait, right. But I'm reliving every tap.
Every tap you got, was it because it was profound or pitiful?
And I'm like, oh, I thought I was profound and it was all bullshit.
Oh, man.
So how about that one?
All right, that's good stuff, man.
Third one.
Last one.
Secret the meeting.
Yep. Did it? Oh, third one. Third thing. Secret. Yes, I'm sorry.
Keep coming back.
Okay. Yeah, good.
I mean, hey, you know what? It doesn't. You didn't like that meeting? I don't care. Keep coming back. You didn't like what that person said? I don't care. Keep coming back.
You don't like the meeting in general?
They didn't say hi to you.
Another one.
They didn't say hi to you. I don't care. Keep coming back.
That's
Coffee
right.
sucked. I don't care. Keep coming back. People in the room with egos. I don't care. Keep coming back. Because first of all, what I have found and what I'm still on the fence with this subject, right? Like, I don't like that meeting. What I have found in my own life, when I don't like a meeting, it's not the meeting. The problem's with me. Mm-hmm. It's either hitting something in my life that I don't like, that I don't want to look at, or I don't want to address it. It just, and it's at that moment. What I've learned at that moment is when I need that meeting the most and when I need to pay attention the most because it's hitting something that's sending me sideways. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm saying that specifically in general, right? Maybe you need a big book meeting instead of a open chair meeting, right? Or maybe, but, and I'm just want to drive this point home. It's like there are people that will go to every meeting and criticize every single meeting, right? It's like the people that are say, hey, man, I'm trying to get sober in Chicago. I just can't do it. I'm going to move to L.A.
Oh, yeah. Guess
what?
Yeah.
You're going to get fucked up in L.A. You're taking the same person with you.
Yeah, right.
You haven't changed. So it's not the geographical change. Right. It's not the meeting change. It's got to be the inner people change.
Love it.
Right? Now, I mean, if you sit there and go to a meeting and they start 20 minutes late because the chairperson's never on time and they never know what and you need a little bit more organization.
Either find another meeting.
Then go find another meeting, right? But there's people that spend their AA sober careers finding other meetings and they're never satisfied because of their ego and the way they judge other people. And so I'm saying, hey, maybe it's 90-10, right? Maybe it's 90 me and 10% situational. But what I have found when I don't like a meeting, it's, hey, right now I have to pray for patience. I got to work on my patience, right? I have to work on my empathy. Mike's rolling on for 18 minutes about a problem that he's having. Maybe I need to give Mike love, after the meeting. Maybe I need to, instead of judging Mike saying, oh, that guy's got no self-awareness, just rattle on, this isn't a speaker meeting, blah, 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 blah. Right? Maybe I need to go show Mike some love and some patience and be empathetic of what he's going through. Maybe he's going through something I can help him with.
Love it.
So I don't know, man. I'm not sure if they were rapid. I'm not sure if they were espresso shots, but
I think we did good. We landed the plane nicely.
Okay. Love you, man. Then I will not take it up again.
Love you, man.
See ya.
See you next week.
Thanks for joining us for today's coffee chat. To contact the show, email us at podcast@Sober.Coffee. If you need immediate help, the AA hotline is 800-839-1686. The National Suicide Prevention Hotline is 800-273-8255. Remember, Mike and Glenn are sharing their own journey on the path to recovery. Any suggestions, medical or otherwise, are their own experiences and should not be viewed as professional advice. See you next week, and remember, there is a solution.